The Bring a Trailer Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bring a Trailer Podcast. Alex Porter coming to you from San Francisco headquarters of Bring a Trailer, joined once again today by Tyler Greenblatt, manager of our motorcycle team. Hey, Tyler.
What's going on, Alex?
You have been up at the office a lot recently, which has been a delight. You've been riding the train, which is weird for a moto man.
I have become like the biggest public transportation enthusiast
keep that
last
quiet
3 months.
if you don't mind.
Well, we screwed that up already.
I know. But it's been great. You've been here a lot. And you mentioned yesterday, you were here for our Days of Thunder pod, which hopefully everyone's enjoying, which went up last week. And then you mentioned it's been a while since we talked about bikes. Could it really have been May since we talked motos last time? It was after the Quail, right?
It was right after the Quail, but I want to say...
But we haven't had a bike dedicated episode in a while.
No, we haven't. There's been so much going on, so many topics, movies, the year games. So it's been a while.
We've been distracted by other things,
Yeah,
but it is time to
exactly.
talk motos again. So stoked to do that with you. I think we also talked about that we had crossed the 10,000 motorcycle auction threshold. And now where are we at? We're 11.5, something like that. We've done another 1,000 plus since then.
Yeah, I want to say by the time this comes out, we'll be at 11.4 so.
Keeping your team busy, though.
Yeah, you're telling me. When we last talked about bikes and volume, that would have been when we crossed over our 10,000 mark back in August 2025. And
Gotcha.
that was just kind of a fun number to see.
But that's less than 6 months, and we've done another 1,000 plus. Almost 1,500, 1,400.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's been about the trajectory for the last couple of years.
That's wild. Does it make you sick of motorcycles, or are you still stoked to see what comes across your desk?
What a great question. No, I think I'm still pretty stoked.
Okay.
One of the neat things is, and maybe one of the things I've gotten to enjoy, we've got such a great team of folks who work on them here at BAT who are motorcycle specialists that a lot of times I don't see some of the, I don't want to call them mundane because I love them all, but like your CB750s, your CB450s.
The ones that we're running at volume. You're tending to, I'll tease our activity today. We're going to talk about our favorite motorcycle auctions where we each came up with our own top 10 for 2025. And I think probably a lot of Tyler edited bikes are going to end up on our two lists, right? Because it's it's the stuff that really got us excited and the community excited.
Yeah, it's like, this not the stuff I have in my garage necessarily, but there's just some really cool things. And it's like bikes are just they're beautiful pieces of art.
Yes.
Cars are too, I'll admit that, but I think there's a bit more intricacy with a lot of these, especially some of the pre-war motorcycles that we've listed.
100%.
And so it's like seeing them on my screen, not as great as being in person or riding, but you can still make out a lot of them.
Yes.
So we actually have bikes almost every day that we've not seen before on BAT.
That's amazing. So disclaimer for listeners, and you already know this well, I don't ride. I don't know that much about motorcycles. And I'm so glad you said it. I think of them as maybe the perfect aesthetic statement of like a motor vehicle, right? Like I admire them for their beauty and for their technology. And my dad owned motorcycles, so like I know something about them, but I think that's what a lot of people like about them. And a lot of dudes are clearly buying them to put them in their man cave, right? To just look at them.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, every single detail on a motorcycle is out in the open. When you start to get into late 80s, fully fared plastic sport bikes, they're even shapely. I mean, they're shapely.
They're beautiful.
And beautiful.
Yes.
And we may even talk about one of them today.
Yeah, or a few.
Or a few of them. But for the most part, they're really, you pull those fairings off and it's like the details are still there. But going back into the early 80s even, there's details, the little end caps on a cam cover. That's got to be designed because it's visible. What the timer cover looks like on the bottom of the engine. It's like, that's got to be designed because it's going to draw people's eye. When the engine's black and the cover's chrome, people are going to notice it.
Yes.
And that goes all the way back to, kind of my personal favorite kinds of motorcycles, the pre-war stuff, where every single thing, every little lever, knob, the parts of the carburetor, it's like everything is just so beautifully designed because it's visible. So it's both mechanical, but it's also visible. There's a second component of building a motorcycle that a lot of cars just don't know. Like, Singer obviously would probably be the one that comes to mind where it kind of does everything.
Yes. Ettore Bugatti believed strongly that every part needed to be beautiful. So when you look at the engine of a Bugatti or the suspension pieces, they're all art. I mean, his dad and brother were sculptors and made furniture and stuff, right? So they believed in the artistry. And you're totally right. It's really well said that motorcycles really carry that tradition. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, either with Zach or you and me. I'm such an exhaust snob, right? Like
Totally.
where it's placed and how it's like, but that's not something you always have to, I mean, you maybe have to worry about the exhaust outlet on your car, but what's going on underneath, unless you have the car on a lift or you're a real wonk, you don't care that much about how the exhaust looks, right? There can be ugly welds on it and stuff, but all that is visible on a motorcycle.
That's right. Yeah. And actually, you just reminded me about exhaust. I have a personal favorite motorcycle exhaust system, believe it or not. I don't know if anyone else does, but I definitely do.
I do. Well, you own one of my favorites of all time, which is the CBX, because you can see the 6 headers coming off the front, which is amazing. And I guess Benelli's look like that too, right?
Yeah, real similar.
But 6 header pipes coming off the front of your motorcycle motor, that's hard to beat.
It's cool for sure. But as you well know, it also has that Honda, like, we're prepared to build 1 million of them.
Correct.
Kind of vibe.
Yes.
So the stamps are very visible.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see, but it's also really not all that artistic.
It's not as aesthetically beautiful as you need it to be.
Right. Exactly. Yes. I require an aesthetically beautiful exhaust system on my motorcycle.
Tell me about the 20s, 30s bike.
Yeah. So really, it's Harley-Davidson, of course, came out with this exhaust system. It was right at the time when bikes were getting loud. You know, we're a little bit past the point of horses being scared on the road. That was kind of like maybe 10 to 15. But by the Model T, I mean, cars and bikes were pretty much maybe more even the norm than horses in a lot of places. But by 1929, they were starting to think like people are using these things, especially the Great Depression would have been in effect. So motorcycles would have been in effect certainly by 1930, starting to get just a little bit more of a, how can we make this quieter? How can we make this a more usable piece of transportation?
More affordable and more people want them is what you're saying.
Right. And I mean, the Model T totally screwed up motorcycles for history because that was always their thing.
Because you'd have a car for cheap.
Yeah, because you can get a car for the same price. So it really kind of messed things up. So motorcycle manufacturers after the Model T just had to do something. And by 2930, they were starting to make some pretty good power. And they were also kind of becoming fun. And the companies were also trying to come up with ways of making them quieter. And what can we do to kind of make them a bit more
Does a 30s Harley
accessible.
or 20s Harley sound the same? I mean, still the same V-twin, same angle and everything, right? Do they sound similar?
Well, we're going to go on one of our Harley conversations again.
Okay.
But so the deal with Harley is they all have the same firing order. And it's a trademarked thing. And I can't remember the exact, what would you call a firing order? But it's the timing where the rear cylinder hits really shortly after the front cylinder. Yeah. So they kind of fire in quick succession.
What gives the distinct sound.
And
that goes back to the 20s?
Yeah. They did it for power and just to get torque out of it.
And now you have to do it even if you'd like to modernize it.
Yeah. They're trying to figure out how to do that with liquid cooled engines now. And it's not easy. Nobody would ever build a 45-degree liquid
and they've gone
engine.
Overhead cam, right? And all that stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So actually one of our colleagues just bought the new Sportster. Shout out to Chris Everett, who just picked up a new Sportster, and it's a liquid cooled bike. I mean, gorgeous, beautiful, just like a Harley should be.
But not push rod either, right? It's overhead cam?
It is overhead cam.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So the new kind of their off-road dual sport type of bike, that was kind of the first modern one anyway. The V-Rod, of course, liquid cooled overhead cam. But the Pan America was the first version of the kind of current generation of Harley saying, all right, we're tired of running these engines too hot and not being able to pass emissions. So
it came to Porsche eventually too. And Porsche maybe even helped Harley originally, didn't they? Because
that's so interesting. Yeah.
Because they were the last two to go from air cooled to water cooled.
Right. So Porsche actually designed the V-Rod engine, which came out in 2001.
Early on, right? And Porsche had just done that 3 or 4 years before.
I never put that together. No, about the 996 coming out right before they...
They had to do the same thing.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a little bit of succession right next to each other.
Volkswagen did it 20 years earlier or whatever, right?
That's really cool, yeah.
Do they still try to make, I presume they do, they try to make the motor look like an old air-cooled motor, right? Even maybe with fake fins on the cylinders and stuff?
So the big twins are still, in fact, air-cooled.
Okay.
They've got a little tube of liquid cooling that goes around the exhaust valve in the head.
Really?
So a little bit of coolant goes.
Is there a little miniature radiator somewhere too?
Yeah, there is. Okay. Yeah, there's 2 miniature radiators. At least it was the last time.
But you can hide them, right? They don't have to be visible. They don't have to be sitting out in front of the motor.
Yeah, they're the size of like an oil cooler.
Yeah, okay,
basically.
gotcha.
And then when there's 2 of them, like half the size of an oil cooler. I mean, it's that small, but it's just enough so that they can run them just to within like emissions requirements. And heat.
Wow, I didn't know that. What a clever solution. That's actually, I actually love that.
It's extremely clever because their audience maybe
demands. They demand it, right? They demand
it. They did when they came out with the system right around 2016 or so. The buyer 10 years ago was very much, we buy air-cooled 45-degree motors that sound like a Harley.
Yep.
Today, 10 years later, I don't know if that's still
They've even got an electric bike now, don't they? Or did that fail?
Well, yeah, they did have an electric bike.
Past tense.
Yeah, unfortunately, like a lot of kind of fun Harley things over the years, they de-accessed that part of the company.
Yep.
And Livewire, I want to say it is its own thing now, but I also want to say it doesn't do anything. So it's like, we didn't fail. We just stopped.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
exactly know what the deal there is.
We withdrew from Vietnam.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going with that. I'm sure you knew a quote there.
I knew where you were going. Awesome, dude. Finish your story. What's the Harley 1929, 1930 Harley exhaust system?
So they're
trying to make it quiet.
We have listed one. So it'll be a 1929 Harley-Davidson Model J. So now this is going back to 2021, and it's got a sidecar, and just 29 and 30 Harleys are just so beautiful. And they've got some cool things, one of which I love, dual headlights. That's only those 2 years. But the other thing is this exhaust system that comes out on either side of the bike and has its normal muffler, but it also has this like bonus muffler. And what I'm kind of picturing, you'll, I'm sure, love this. It looks almost like an extra fuel tank on a jet. That's designed, or like on a space shuttle or something that's designed to be jettisoned.
Yeah.
It just looks like it's plopped there.
Like a belly tank or a wing tank, an external fuel tank. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so there's one of these on the other side.
I have actually seen that before. Wow.
I may have shown it to you.
I thought it was a part of the mechanical. It almost looks like a chain cover or something, or like it could be part of the transmission or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's an odd part. It's hard to like say whether or not it is
super duper desirable, or does somebody repop that?
I don't know if anyone repops it.
Okay.
I also don't know if anybody beyond me cares.
No, I think because
I think it's super cool
for somebody who collects that era of Harley. Like they want that. If there's a weirdo part, like my dad had that Vincent Rapide. He listed on BAT, and he had this weirdo windscreen for it that was like aluminum, and he had
perfect.
Like people like the weird add-ons. I think right. Like they like a weird addition or an optional piece. I mean, if I had a 29 Harley, I would need that.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it's like 1 year only kind of stuff. You also get a front brake from 28 and above. So 29 also has the benefit of being able to actually stop.
Still a jockey shifter though, right?
Yeah. That was the case well through.
Does that go post-war?
Yeah, that goes all the way. On police bikes, it actually went up until like the early 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the argument there?
I have no idea.
Why did a policeman need that?
Yeah.
Is there a weapon or something in the way?
The idea is that you can maneuver by using the clutch with your foot. It kind of kept a hand free.
Oh,
maybe
totally.
for using a radio or something. So you can kind of creep along.
Or firing your pistol, your revolver.
That's what everybody says. And that's so Indian famously, you may or may not know, uses a left side throttle. And the biggest thing is that's because the police officer needs to be able to fire his,
which is a myth. I'm sure
he needs to pull it out of his shoulder harness and
his Colt Python.
His Colt Python, yes, his 500, and just start unleashing on other motorcycles of the 30s. But no, that's not true. It was just a random thing. Just nobody knew what they were doing.
Yep.
It was like might as well do it.
Old things that stick around. Porsche having the ignition on the left hand side for Le Mans or whatever. Which I think if you buy a 992 turbo, you still have the push to start on the left side.
Is that true?
I think so. It certainly went up. I mean, your 996 had it. Mine did, right? So
yeah, I would get in and just had to remind myself every time. Like,
but then it becomes tradition. People want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just totally off tangent. But I've just had this weird thing with cars lately, where I've had cars that are just all so different. Where back to Porsche, but like where the fuel tank is different on all of my cars.
Oh, yes.
Where the windows. Like where to open the windows on a Tahoe versus a Bronco versus a Porsche versus it's like all these different things. It's like they're all in different places. So I never know where to. I can't do anything.
Nothing like getting out of one of your cars and into the other and kind of being in a trance-like state and making the mistake of either stabbing your left foot down on the brake of an automatic because you were just in a manual.
Yeah.
Or this just happened to me yesterday. I got out of my Civic daily driver, which is like pretty easy to drive into the Porsche, and the change from one clutch friction point to the other, and like all of a sudden you can't drive the other car because your muscle memory is the other. I've been embarrassed myself many times with those kinds of things.
Kind of a funny thing, right? Yeah. How like all cars,
or you hop in your Porsche and you stab the key into the dash on the right hand side of the. Oh, I've done that.
Oh man, yeah. I've never been in that big of a rush, but yeah, I could totally see
kids,
that
dude.
That explains it. I've got nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing going on.
Yeah. Should we dive into our game that you came up with? You want to set it up? What you asked us to do today, which I thought was a really fun exercise.
It's kind of a project that I wanted to do when we hit 10,000. But I think as you well know maybe more than anybody else, or at least as much as anybody else. A lot has been going on between August
you
and
allegedly
now.
pitched this to me, and I have no memory of it, nor of the email.
Yeah,
You were very polite about it, though,
Yeah,
Tyler.
so we talked about this in August, and I was like, oh, we hit 10,000 bikes on the site. Like, let's do a top 10. I actually had the idea of doing an overall top 10, but
Of like all motos ever, which would
Yeah,
be fun and hard. That would actually take some real research.
yeah, and that could be a lot of fun too. But now that it's early February, I don't think we're too late to do a top 10 of 2025.
No, I had so much fun doing this research. And I think we should go through and we'll start each with top 10. We'll work our way up to number 1. The only problem is we're going to have overlap, obviously. So I think what we'll do is we can take turns. And then if one of us has that same bike on their list, we'll just both talk about it at the same time. But most of this exercise is going to be me saying how beautiful I find a bike. And then you're going to have to tell me why it's either cool or not cool, because a lot of these are just things I connect with emotionally. And, you know, a rider might have a very different opinion about whether this is like actually a cool bike or not.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with motorcycles. Like I always say, every motorcycle is an enthusiast vehicle.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a lot of that's not cool from me, but I will also be the first to admit some of these, at least on my list and just from scrolling through the site before this, some of them are actually pretty cool.
And then, you know, we can do honorable mentions or whatever. There's probably some significant stuff, even with 20 picks, that we're not going to get to. So let's make sure we leave a little bit of time for that too.
Definitely. Yeah. A lot of just beautiful bikes, just wonderful bikes too. I mean,
doing the research for this is 2025. That's our best year for motos ever, right? In terms of quality, quantity, like interestingness, beauty, all that, right?
Yeah, 100%. We listed more in 2025 than any other year. But one of the neat things is we just spanned such a massive collector world of motorcycles.
I've got all my favorite bikes represented on my list, right?
Yeah. Like almost every week or certainly regularly throughout the year, some kind of premium motorcycle. So that's always kind of the fun stuff, the visible stuff, a lot of stuff that I get to work on regularly, which I'm extremely appreciative of just because that's just a totally different world than when I go into my own garage and look. There was one point where we had 3 premium motorcycle listings on at one time.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Was that in the summer?
It was in the summer. Yeah, it was.
Don't tease them yet, because I bet some of these are on our list.
Oh, they definitely are. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to go first with your number 10, or should I go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, great.
And I'm curious if this one made your list.
Okay.
A good place to start. You know, nothing against these, but it made the top 10 list. So, like, not really sure.
It's pretty
what
good.
Could be negative. A little out there. I'm going to go with, we've listed a few of them, the Christian Dior edition Vespa.
No, definitely did not have this on the list.
Have that?
No,
Okay.
I remember the listing, but I did not have that on the list.
So
Talk to me about it.
We actually sold 3 of them this year. The first one came in the door, and one of our specialists on the site, Chris, is kind of our mini bike, scooter, small displacement expert. He worked on the first one, which we did in June. But now that I'm looking at it, we actually did 4 of them this year.
Jeez, and look at the prices on these things. I had forgotten that.
I mean, well, that was kind of the fun thing. We had no idea.
The cheapest one was $40,000.
Yeah.
And
So we had
one
no
went
idea.
for over 50.
Yeah.
You didn't know this was a thing?
No, we had no idea. So Chris and I were talking about this, and he's like, "Do you know about these?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sure looks cool." We had a Coach Edition Vespa last year, which was kind of cool, but it was kind of like a after the fact modified type of thing. Certainly didn't go for anywhere near these kinds of numbers, but so we ran this Christian Dior limited edition Vespa 946.
By the way, these are modern Vespas.
Oh, yeah. So 2021, 2022. So modern, I want to say large frame Vespas.
Which are great. I have a buddy who's been daily riding these for like 10, 15 years now, maybe. He's put tens of thousands of miles on a bunch of them. These are good little scooters, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all 4-strokes, and you could pretty much ride these wherever you want to go.
He's graduated up to a 300, I think, and it's like almost freeway capable. He started with a 150 and has worked his way up.
Yeah, it is. But now the Christian Diors are so cool. They've got all these amazing little one-off details. And then the next one comes, and it's got, so this is the $53,000 one that you mentioned.
I'm looking at that
and
one.
it actually had the matching trunk on the back, the Christian Dior trunk. And just so like, again, I was not aware this was a thing. And now this is so cool. And then like one comes in, just like with a lot of different cars and bikes that we see over the years.
We get a good result on one and then they all come in, right?
Yeah. And then we saw 3 more in quick succession. So I've been having a lot of fun.
Amazing.
It's really
that's such a good pick. It's fun. It's lighthearted. Didn't know about it either. I remembered seeing this flash across the top, but did not remember these prices. Really fun, Tyler. That's great. I will admit right up top, I was debating about whether to throw in like utility vehicles and some of the novelty stuff. Hopefully you have some other ones. I'm all pure moto for my list. So hopefully that's okay with you. Okay. My number 10, which you and I actually, I think, did talk about when it came up, is the 1985 Bimota DB1.
Oh, yes.
This was part of 1600 Veloce's motorcycle collection, which maybe you could talk about too. They did a really nice job photographing all those. But this looks almost like a toy to me. It's not the crazy Bimota with the weird forks, but it's more conventional. But man, is it pretty. And speaking of, you mentioned these faired in 80s bikes. Like
this is
the fairing almost looks like one piece. Maybe it is almost one piece. I just think this is great looking. It sold for $8,500, and man, I would love to just look at that thing all day in my living room or something.
Definitely. I actually had the pleasure. One of my friends was doing some work on a client's DB1. So I was at his shop and actually got to see this bike in person.
You said this is the original Bimota, is that right?
So this is the original Bimota.
Okay.
So this would have been a Tamburini design. So he also designed a lot of the early faired-in Ducatis as well.
And this is a Ducati underneath, kind of?
This one is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of just a neat Bimota thing, but so D, Ducati, K would be Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki, whatever they were running underneath.
Oh, I see. The first letter in the model name tells you what the underlying... Okay, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, no, that's what this is. This is just a big, beautiful piece of plastic.
Totally.
That's all this is. But supposedly, my friend who rides them and has raced them and loves them, apparently this is actually a really nicely riding bike.
Really? They ride nicely?
This is actually a super high performance bike, even though it looks like, what's the Fast and the Furious quote? What are those little snacks we used to eat with the toys in the bottom?
Yeah, Cracker Jacks.
Cracker Jack,
yeah.
Cracker Jack toy. It kind of looks like that.
It really does. It looks like the little thing that you like push off the side of your table and the guy has a parachute. But that's part of what I like about it. The livery,
great reference.
The livery is great on it. I just think it's a great looking bike. This is not something I really know anything about. Although I think it's a 750 Ducati twin.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
That's actually probably a positive thing, right? That it's got solid running gear.
Yeah, that's a totally usable engine. You could ride that thing, super easy to work on as well. So it looks super exotic, but actually, once you get past the big plastics, it's actually a pretty easy bike to ride and work on.
Awesome. So I haven't insulted you with my number 10.
No, that's a great.
You want to say anything about that collection? 1600 Veloce, one of our big sellers, brought in a bunch of rad bikes as part of that deal. I presume you worked on that whole collection.
Yes, we had some fun with that one. I believe we called them the Racing Relics Collection. It was just kind of a fun way of bringing in a lot of these bikes. They were all projects.
Yes, this was a project bike.
Yeah, none of them were in running condition, but a lot of them were in like as raced conditions, or bikes like this Bimota were not maybe necessarily race bikes themselves, but just had serious race heritage.
Yep.
Where if you're into race bikes, you would like this.
I mean, I, again, just want it in my living room.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, bud, what you got for number 9?
All right. My number 9, again, kind of out there. It's totally not up your alley. So I will be so impressed if you would have this one. It's going to be the Brodix 427 powered Vanquish.
No. I don't even know what that means.
So it's got a 427 V8 in it.
What?
Yeah. Big giant radiator. It's an actual two-wheeled motorcycle. Sometimes you see V8s in like three-wheeled bikes. This is a real two-wheeler. And Brodix, which I'm not super familiar, maybe you've heard of them, but it's apparently a really high-end GM style engine builder.
Yeah, I think they're in dragsters a lot of the time. I've definitely heard of them before.
So
Man,
I hadn't heard of them.
And this has to be a completely custom frame too, right? I mean, the thing is wild looking.
So it's custom in the sense that it's low production, but there are companies that make V8 motorcycles.
Yeah, what I remember? This is, sorry, we're going off 2025, but there was I think it was a Harley. Something had a V860 in it. The little baby.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Was it an Indian or was it a...
well, it was a nothing, really. It was a Ford small block.
No, this was a Flathead, the little baby Flathead, the 136 cubic inch
not
Flathead.
Small block.
Yes,
A Ford Flathead.
But the little one.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, it had that little.
That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I loved that.
Yeah, I want to say it was called an Honest Charlie.
Was that an actual kit that somebody was doing for those?
It was it was a manufacturer made them, but they weren't street legal.
I mean, those motors are little, so you can fit them. They're only 100. They're 2 liter basically, but they're like a miniature version of the Flathead.
Right. Yeah. So it's basically a toy.
Yeah.
But other people, it was a real manufacturer.
Other people do water cooled V8s, right? Like it's like small blocks and stuff.
Yeah. Boss Hoss is probably that's the famous one. That's the one that like most people have heard of. But this one was just super cool.
This is way more wild looking. And also like a Brodix motors. Like that's a lot of engine to have a motorcycle.
I know. What? Oh my God.
The gauges. And it obviously has to have a huge fuel tank, right? Because it's so thirsty.
Yes, but like how many miles are you putting on it?
Yes.
It does have a huge fuel tank just so like, the valve covers aren't like where your knees are. But
Is this just a cruise downtown and rev a couple times?
yeah,
Maybe do a big smoky burnout?
Honestly, I hope it gets used that much because it's kind of cool.
Oh, maybe you just fire it up and rev it in the driveway?
Or like it just sits there.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens. But this one's got a riding video. The guy, I love this riding video. Definitely not encouraged just because we have some equipment police who like to pop in on the site. But we've got the seller riding this thing in the video. The opening shot is him, no helmet, no gloves. And the title is 500 horsepower plus V8 motorcycle drive-by.
Love it. Love it. Man, great pick. I'm so glad you're bringing the weirdo stuff because all of my stuff is going to be way more normcore. It's going to be, again, like amateur stuff.
But you're going to bring all the taste in.
No,
I'll
well,
do all the
let's
weird
see.
stuff.
Let's see what you think about my next pick.
All right,
You ready for it?
Yeah, what you got?
Okay. This was right at the end of last year, and I presume you edited this one, but maybe not. A pair of BMW K1s. We've had this a couple times, but they're often matching. This time it was a yellow K1 and then a blue K1 Ultima, which I'm not totally sure what an Ultima is, like the difference between that and a regular K1, but I've always loved these. They're super streamlined, fared in kind of, I guess, Autobahn missiles a little bit, but with a semi-conventional BMW motorcycle underneath, right? They're just very striking looking.
Yeah, it's basically a K-bike underneath with this like extreme aerodynamic bodywork. And
is it for like a sustained highway cruising? I presume that's what it's for.
Yeah, it's a sport tourer.
Yeah.
So this would be kind of like your Ducati ST competitor.
But is the aero functional? It's not just for looks.
No, they designed it to have like a 0.93 drag coefficient.
Oh,
It's got some ridiculously high drag coefficient.
Yeah.
And it was designed in a wind tunnel for that purpose.
Have you ever ridden one?
No, I've not ridden a K1. I've ridden K-bikes.
Would you be interested in riding one to see the difference, to feel it?
I just don't know enough about aerodynamics. You think you would feel it?
I mean, I would imagine, right? It feels like you're pushing, like you would imagine you need less throttle at highway speed to push through the air or not. I don't
never
know.
even thought about that.
I'm just a total guess. Again, I don't ride motorcycles. I don't know. But
real.
I've always thought they were striking looking, and they come in pairs a lot, which is interesting.
Yeah, this is not the first K1 pair we sold. And whoever bought these, please tell us how it handles at speed. Do you feel it or not?
Great colors on these, and I just always like them. I always like them. I believe this is really testing my BAT lore. I think the first, because we do it a fair amount now, but I believe the first time we ever paired two vehicles in one listing was a pair of K1s. I remember them. They were red and yellow. I think they were the first K1s we ever had on the site, and it was a pair of them.
That was definitely early.
Were you around for that, or was that before your time?
Oh, yeah. I did those.
You were probably the auction specialist back then, right?
Maybe, yes. And pairs are always kind of a challenge to write because you kind of have to like make sure the equipment's the same on both.
Yeah.
And you're like, am I saying something about one that maybe doesn't apply to the other? And we may have run a Sno-Runner pair or something like that before that, but that might have been our first.
We've had some trios now, I think. Maybe we
had a 5 too. Yeah, we sold 5 of them at once.
There you go.
But this Ultima, though, this is also another one of those bikes that came across my desk, and we had to ask the seller like what this was. So there's a couple pieces of information online about them, but it was just like the last 100 K1s were these Ultimas, and they had some interesting badging, kind of a unique color. And this one was actually originally sent to Africa.
Wow.
And it was on display at a BMW dealer before eventually making its way over here to join up with this blue K1. But yeah, again, I love this. And
it's like a great pairing of colors too, because the blue bike has yellow wheels and yellow trim. And then, totally. And the yellow is similar to Dakar yellow. Maybe it is Dakar.
Oh, I think it might actually be.
It's close.
It's
close.
Awfully close.
All right. So I haven't offended you with 2 of my picks. What do you got for number 8?
Let's see. My number 8, I am going to go with something, again, a little bit out there. We're going to, I was going to say pre-war, but we're actually going to the middle of World War I. If you'll join me.
I will, happily. Let me jump into my trench.
Yes, that's right. And then we're going to rock it out of it on our Harley-Davidson Model W.
Okay. Tell me about the Model W.
So,
another one I don't know.
So yeah, W Sport. I wish I knew more about where this even came from, but this definitely looks like something that Harley-Davidson found in Europe and just tried to replicate. So it's a boxer twin, but with the cylinders going forwards and backwards.
Yeah, look at this.
Are you looking at it?
Yeah, man.
It's a really European styling. You see it's got the acetylene headlight up front.
Man.
So that was still used by the 20s. I think right around then an electric model came out, but people didn't trust it. They still wanted their magnetos for let the engine run and we'll figure out lighting on our own.
A Schebler carburetor? I've never even heard of that.
Oh, yeah, real popular stuff.
Bosch ignition system. I wonder if it is modeled off for a German motorcycle. Of some
Yeah,
kind.
maybe. That's kind of what I was thinking. But, as you probably know, I mean, they're...
It's a beautiful restoration on this bike,
Yeah,
too.
it is. Yeah, I actually haven't looked at this one in a while. This was, back in August. So it's not like it was that long ago.
Man, for a bike of this caliber and quality, and also the interesting factor, it's sold for 26 grand. That seems like kind of a bargain for such an interesting piece. I know that's like a lot of money for a vintage motorcycle, but still, like, man,
No,
what a cool thing.
A 1920 V-twin, with the same level of restoration would be easily twice that.
But this is almost a more interesting motorcycle because of the bizarre engine and stuff. Had you ever seen or heard of this before?
I have heard of them, and you just never see them. I've seen them in person, and I've always been just fascinated with, like we were talking about Harley-Davidson earlier, how it's like they just have to do the same thing for their customers. But every now and then they do something that's just to see what they can do, and nobody buys it. But then 100 years later, we're like, man, that is cool.
Because it differs. Man,
Yeah.
Great pick. Really interesting. You see, you're giving me an education as part of this, Tyler, which is honestly what I needed. All right. I have something weirdo for my number 8 as well. And this is another bike you and I have talked about, another bizarre engine configuration. And that is an Ariel Square 4. We've listed a few of these. And I know that was a highlight at last year's Quill Moto too, I think. Or was it 2 years ago when a Square 4 showed up? But I didn't know about these until I saw one when my dad was having his Vincent restored. We went, and the guy was also restoring a Square 4. So you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 2 parallel twins sitting in a Square 4-cylinder upright configuration. I think it has 2 cranks that are then geared together, right?
Yep, 2 side-by-side cranks.
It just looks great. The exhaust looks great on it because, basically they have to come from all weird spots to kind of come together. I just think these are so interesting. And when I first heard about them, I was like, God, that can't work. But you and others have told me they work fine, right? It works just fine.
I've seen them work.
Yeah.
Do they work for a long time in heat? I don't know. Maybe the rear cylinders start to complain, but no, I've seen them work. I've seen them ride. And yeah, it was 2 years ago. You're right about that at Quail. Wasn't it our last one?
You said it was kind of one of the stars of the show when it showed up, right?
Definitely, yeah. And
I've not heard one run. Do they sound bizarre? Or does it sound relatively conventional?
Not particularly.
Yeah, okay.
It sounds like a funny twin, if anything, I guess I would say. Someone who owns one is going to be like, it sounds nothing like that. But that was kind of you almost think it's like a vintage Triumph coming down.
Well, totally. It has that look.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you kind of get a little closer and you're like, oh, there's something else going on here.
Once you start to look at it, the motor is big, because it's 2 twins,
it is.
Basically. Anyway, I've always liked those, and I was glad to see that.
You always talk about those. I just love them.
I like it's similar. That's why I'm fascinated with this Model W Harley now. All of a sudden, anything that's weird has a weird configuration. I like those Honda S600s with the weird swing arm independent rear suspension where there's the chains running down. Like anything where it's like really bizarre technology, I'm interested in it. So always like these, and the fact that it's bizarre technology, but in a pretty conventional looking motorcycle. Otherwise, I just love that somebody was thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you're right. You see an Ariel Square 4 and a Squarial, if you will, and you look right to the engine.
Did you just make that up, or is that
no? I think it's a thing. Okay. But it's like from 20 feet away, it kind of looks like a normal bike. There's nothing. It's not trying to look outlandish. It's just trying to be as good of a bike as it can, not knowing whether or not a Square 4 engine would work. Totally. No one had ever done it.
Yep. And this, by the way, this one sold for 17 grand in November of last year. Is also just a really, really good looking one. I think a lot of times they have dual saddles, right? This one has like a solo saddle and it's a little sportier looking. It's just a great looking example. British number plate on the front fender, which I always like.
It's necessary.
Yes, agreed.
Necessity.
Anyways, one more Ariel Square 4 conversation for you.
Yes. All right. So
number 7 for you.
We're going to number 7. We're going up quite a few years from what we've been talking about. We're keeping the cylinder count the same, though, and I'm going to Ducati Desmosedici RR.
Oh.
So the kind of Ducati's MotoGP superbike for the street. It's like they didn't even put the turn signals are built into the mirrors. So they basically put mirrors on.
Amazing.
And just so they didn't even add turn signals, really.
Amazing.
If you want to think about it. This bike, when it came out, it just advanced the motorcycle game in terms of what you could buy at a dealer so far, and was just totally unapologetic about it.
Which Ducati's done a couple times, right?
Yeah, they have a tendency to do that, and it's one of the things I love about Ducati.
I may or may not have a similar thing on my list.
Okay, but you don't have this one though, huh?
No, I don't.
Okay, cool, that's good. But yeah, if you look at the seat, it's just a total race seat. It's like, other car manufacturers, and Ducati does this themselves as well. A lot of times they'll build these kind of special editions, neat bikes that are maybe super high performance and super special, but they're also kind of designed for the person who is just going to be riding it or displaying it. This bike is built like this is not a comfortable bike. This is a bike for someone who's going to take it to the track and race it and just beat everything.
But all of their bikes that are kind of in that configuration are so good looking.
They're incredible. So yeah, they are. And we just talk about we almost exclusively run these as premium auctions.
Yes, that's right.
They're so special.
Yes.
So interesting.
And it's usually a great presentation, a lot of black backgrounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have to. So the one I'm looking at now also has the stock exhaust system, which is kind of interesting. The stock exhaust system is built into the tail section. So it comes out the back of the bike.
I'm such an exhaust snob. That's what I need. I need something like that.
We're talking about exhaust here.
It's like Carrera GT a little bit, man. So sick.
So you can get the race system put on, which empties out kind of under the engine like a normal race exhaust does, and more power. But you miss out by not having that super cool tail section exhaust.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Man, sick pick.
All
right. Number 7 for me is one that even though it didn't sell, I feel like I had to bring it up because I love these bikes. And that's a Brough Superior. You and I talked for years about when are we going to get a Brough? When are we going to get a Brough? We've had 2 now. This was an SS80 and it had a sidecar, which was pretty rad. Got a pretty strong bid into the 80s. Didn't sell ultimately. But man, what a great looking bike. You and I were just talking about Lawrence of Arabia in the office yesterday. We were talking about the movie because one of our colleagues, I believe it was Harrison, saw it on 70 millimeter.
Yeah, that was a Harrison one.
Yeah. And you and I were talking about the Brough Superior opening. So they've been on my brain, that opening scene with Peter O'Toole on the Brough. These are such great looking bikes. And for a while, my dad always said like, oh, this is the ultimate collector bike. Like even above a Vincent, even above these other things. Maybe modern bikes have moved into that slot now, but this is up there, right? One of the most iconic motorcycles of all time.
It's kind of interesting. I always thought that as well. Just the numbers just don't seem to get there like they have with your Indian 4s, with Crocker. I mean, you're getting into $1 million. And then a lot of modern stuff too.
Right.
That we'll probably talk about some more. But Broughs just never, I don't know what it is about them. Maybe they're finicky. A friend had one and he never rode it. And we tried to start it and couldn't. So like maybe that's why.
Yeah. Vincent's have that problem too. If they still have
maybe that's what it is. Vincent's, I feel like they still have a little bit more rideability. The Brough, I think, is maybe so out there that people don't know what to do with it.
It's so beautiful though. It's like a work of art.
What an incredible bike. And this one has the correct left side English sidecar. So it's an actual English bike. You and I talked about this bike when it was live. And my favorite part is the clock. I don't know if you would call it a chronometer. I don't know if you're a watch enthusiast, but it's got a clock in the sidecar, so that when you're doing a rally, the passenger could keep track of time.
Chronometer is the correct
chronometer. Okay, yeah, thank you. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing.
You're the man, Tyler.
Yeah, get out of here.
All right, what do you got for number 6?
Okay, number 6. Let's go with a 1949 Moto Guzzi Airone.
Oh, great. We haven't had any. No, we haven't had any overlap so far.
Okay,
tell me about it.
So this is just these Italian singles. There's like 4 different ones that all kind of look about the same. And they're just, you get a 250 displacement, 500 displacement. So the Aerones are just kind of...
I remember you talking about this bike when it was on.
Yeah, this was kind of a big one. So the Airone is the 250, which in my opinion is the correct displacement for an Italian motorcycle. It's just the right...
Because you want to putt around a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not going to putt. You could probably do 80 miles an hour on this thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think. They're just not that heavy. They're geared to move. They're fantastic rally bikes. So one of my dream events that I'd love to do is the Moto Giro, which is, they run them in the US too. It's an Italian thing otherwise, but it's a time trial. But your bike has to be under 250 cc's.
You need a chronometer, Tyler.
And so I need to get my chronometer. I'll have that shipped over from England. Oh man, Alex, now that I'm looking, the 49 that I loved was actually November of 24.
Oh, yes, it is. I didn't notice that because I was admiring the beautiful single cylinder leaned into the wind. Yeah, you screwed up, Tyler.
Yeah, but luckily we sold 7 others in 2025.
There you go.
But I like the 49 the best. That was my dad's birth year. And when you get into like the pre-50s, then it starts to feel old, I think.
Oh, totally. Totally.
But yeah, but all of these are amazing. We sold a 50 and a 52, 53. So
I mean, all of these are so beautiful.
Yeah, any of these.
Man, great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, let's see. Was that number? That was 7. So we're going to. That was your 6. That was your 6.
That was my number 6. Right.
Okay, so I'm going to do another bike with a leaned forward cylinder for my number 6, and that is. One, I promise this is the last one I will do that didn't sell, but it was so beautiful. That is a 1976 Ducati 900 SS. I've always loved 900 SSs. You're going to remember this one because it was very beautiful.
Yes.
It had no miles on it, basically. bid to 66 grand, blue and silver. I've just always loved these. I'm such a dustbin fairing guy, and this is probably my favorite of all the dustbin fairings. It's so simple and elegant. And a buddy of the guy who owned the shop where I used to work bought one of these out of a museum. I think it was, is it just the regular 900? There's an unfaired version of this. Isn't there one without a fairing?
That'd be the GT.
Okay.
So that would just be...
But it's the same chassis and motor. And that was the first time I realized that forward cylinder on the L twin is like laying flat and facing into the wind, and the fins, the air cooling fins, run the other way down the cylinder. I just love that. So anyway, this is a beautiful bike.
Great,
loved it.
Great
it was one of your premium listings that you were talking about. Ran it in July. Beautiful bike. Just, I mean, maybe, even though it's only halfway up my list, maybe of all the things that I would actually want to own and learn how to ride, that might be the one.
Yeah, it's a really incredible 4 kilometers on it from one of our power motorcycle sellers, Moto Borgataro, who has something else coming out very soon.
Good tease.
That I think you're going to be blown away by.
Good tease.
That we are in progress on at the moment. But yeah, he's brought a bunch of fantastic premium level motorcycles our way from out of Brooklyn. So great pick.
Great. Let's do our top 5s each. You keep going. I've got kind of a cheater number 5 for you. So you go hit your number 5 first.
All right. See, I think we've got some overlap in the top 5 here. So I think we'll be able to move through those a little quicker. But my number 1 is really what I'm kind of excited about.
Let's get there.
All right. So for my next one, just going back to Harley-Davidson WLA. This is the actual World War II military motorcycle.
Yes. This is like an icon.
Yes. We sold 3 of them, and then one that was kind of like modified. So technically a WLA motor, but in a non-military spec. But otherwise, we listed 3 and sold 2, including one really lovely period correct, like ready for the battlefield.
Totally. There's a very totally. And there's a very particular olive drab green that comes on those Harleys, right? Like it's very distinctive.
Yeah, this is an easy bike to over restore and make too shiny.
Correct.
You don't want this bike to be shiny, right? No. You want to stay under the radar.
You want to look like it got ridden off the set of Saving Private Ryan.
That's exactly right. And this one, it's got the blanket. It's just extremely well presented.
Great pick. Great. I'm going to do a little bit of a cheater if you'll bear with me for number 5. I want to talk about Vincent's in general. You know how much I love Vincent's. My dad had a couple. Basically, one was under restoration my whole life. It was the first Vincent we ever listed on the site, was his Rapide, which he didn't sell. He sold it right after the auction. Very infuriating to all of us, to Randy Howard and myself.
We did not have R&M offers at that time.
I know. But it was a labor of love for him. And no, we definitely did not. This was like 2017, I think. That was a Rapide, but it had chunks from, as you know, Vincent's gets mix-mashed. But we had, in 2025, 5 Vincents. We had a Comet, which is the single cylinder, 2 Rapides and 2 Black Shadows, all 5 sold. So I just wanted to shout that out. Other than old Chuck, we have a really good sale record with Vincent's. It's hard for me to pick one, but since I need to have a number, I'll probably pick in January. We had a 52 Black Shadow, which was very nice. English number plate, all that stuff. But I love all Vincents. I think they're so beautiful. It'll probably always be basically my favorite motorcycle aesthetically. And I think a lot of people think that, right? It's like one of the aesthetic beauties. I went to New York with some buddies, 20 years ago, I think it was 2006, and there was one in the MoMA, right? So it's kind of an icon of design, and just love them. Love that we list quite a few of them on BAT. Love that we sold all 5 last year. So well done, you and your team, Tyler. Great stuff.
And did you pick 52 because of the song?
No, that's the Black Lightning. Isn't the song about a Black Lightning?
I thought it was just Vincent 52, or does he actually call it?
I thought it was a Lightning, but maybe that's wrong.
Okay, well, someone will have to correct us on that. But no, I agree. I mean, 52, perfect year for a Vincent. That's like the romantic year to have. And then, to get a Black Shadow that's just perfect.
When my dad had the motor rebuilt on his Rapide, he had it built to Black Shadow specs by this pretty famous guy, Mike Partee, who's now dead. He was like a big builder and he's like,
he's one of the biggest.
Yeah, he's like, can you paint it black? Because like it's shadow specs now, and it was for a Rapide, and he was like, no.
Great, good.
No.
Good.
So it can have shadow power, but it cannot be black.
That's right.
Great stuff.
All right, so for our next couple, I think we're going to start to overlap.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure you've got a 4-cylinder or 2.
I have quite a few, but my number 4 is actually, do you want me to go first?
Yes. Why don't you go?
Okay, my number 4, I think you're going to have this one too, because you turned me onto this, is the 77 MV Agusta 750S America.
Oh, great. I actually did not pick that
but
one.
you turned me onto this bike.
God, maybe it's one of those bikes that it was just, they're so amazing, but it's almost like it's just so halo that it's.
You were telling me that this is like the thing, and like I have kind of been obsessing on them, and this one in specific So this was in November.
Yeah.
It sold for 76 grand. It was one of the premium bikes. I remember you being excited about this one.
Mm-hmm.
The aesthetics on this are just about perfect. The little turned up fairing behind the seat. I mean, everything about it, the tank shape, all of it.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, this is totally it. We've talked about MV Agusta.
I thought for sure you were going to have this on your list. That's fascinating.
You know, it was one of those things where, like I said, we like some weird things. And the America is just such a perfect motorcycle that it's not weird enough to me.
Yeah, well, I'm picking a lot of non.
It's not weird.
I'm going through all the basic things here, but it is a spectacular
fantastic pick.
I'm
glad you picked it.
I'm glad it made it onto the list at least. All right, what do you got? We're getting close to our top three here. What do you got for 4?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start jumping into 4 cylinders here.
Great.
And I think I'm gonna have to start with the Indian 4.
Okay, how many did we list? I think our biggest result ever is an Indian 4, and we had a couple last year, right?
Well, yeah, we had 2 last year, actually.
2, okay.
We had 3 in 24, but we sold one of them for $108K in February. So just about a year ago. And then we listed this just incredible 31 open fender, which actually is my personal preference. I like open fender Indians, not the swoopy
big
fenders that everyone else likes.
But that is like the iconic thing for but yeah.
Yeah, so you also get the fuel tank inside the frame, the backbone of the frame over the fuel tank, but that one topped out at 95, but this 42 Indian 4 at 108. That was another premium example. Just so much fun watching that premium category, subscribing to it and just seeing motorcycles pop up regularly.
I don't want to tease my number 1, but last year I really would say was like the year of the 4 cylinders. We had a lot of very significant large 4 cylinders, and I do think you and I are going to overlap on our tops.
Yeah, okay.
All right, my number 3 is the Bimota Tesi, which is another one that you turned me on to, and another... this wasn't a premium, interestingly, but 78 grand on the result. And this is maybe the iconic Bimota, right? With the forks that stick out forward.
Yeah, this is kind of the one.
Right.
So I actually had this one on my list as well.
Okay.
So, and I think we're actually right in the same place on
the third. We're in the top 3 now. We're here.
Yes.
Okay. So that was also your number 3?
Yeah. I think it was either number 2 or number 3. Yep. My recording system may not be as accurate as yours here, but
we've only listed a couple of these, right? And I think this is just an incredible
is the second
thing.
one we've listed. Both of them have only had like a kilometer on them.
Right. So people were buying them new to collect them almost.
Yeah. This was just a styling piece. I have no doubt that a lot of people rode them, but then also like I'm reading the first sentence of this listing and one of a reported 20 examples produced.
Yeah.
So maybe they actually did not get ridden all that much.
Totally.
This is the third bike actually from the seller that we've talked about so far.
Well, he does great presentations too.
Yeah. And you can tell how much of a difference it makes. I mean, you wouldn't buy this bike if it was like shot in a random parking lot with like a porta potty in the back. I mean, the studio shot and just how perfectly this is done. That's what you're buying. But no, a fantastic example. I'm so glad you picked this one.
Everything about it. And he's got a great shot of like all the fairings off of it. But these are such an icon, so weird. The suspension and steering is so strange. But man, they are just gorgeous. It looks like something out of like an anime or something. You know what I mean? It looks, it's crazy that it exists in real life.
Like Speed Racer. It's like a Speed Racer motorcycle.
Totally.
but it's real.
All right, let's see if our number 2s overlap also. I bet this is going to be on your number 2. Well, I hope I'm not stealing your number 1. You ready?
All right, so that was just your number 3 then, right? The Bimota?
Yes.
So let's go to number 2.
All right, let's see if this is crossover. Okay, so this is the CR750 style CB750 Sandcast. Is that also yours for my number 2?
That was my number 1.
Sorry, I knew it. I knew I was going to steal your number 1.
That is my number 1. Okay, let's talk about it.
There's an argument that this would be my number 1 too, except I have a cheater number 1 answer. But this bike is
I can't wait to hear
so freaking beautiful.
Yes, I got to see this bike in person. So this was listed by our friends over at MohrImports in Monterey. I want to say it was part of their Postcards from Monterey collection sale, which was honestly one of my favorite collection sales I've seen in a while, where they just did postcards from different locations throughout Monterey. And I was so excited to see that this bike was here. We'd actually listed this bike once before. It was our friend Vic World listed it. And unfortunately, it did not sell a couple years ago. But this is a bike that Vic, he's Mr. Sandcast CB750. And I see him every year at Quail. Just a wonderful person and so interesting to talk to him about CB750s. And this is one that it's not a real CR750 from the factory.
But it's a real CB750 Sandcast turned into kind of the...
It's all factory. It's all the correct parts. I mean, there's virtually no difference.
It's as close as a clone as you can get.
Exactly. Yeah. They're all just original CR750 parts. So I was so happy to see this.
Again, like the dustbin fairing, the colors, all the Honda livery. The color, all of it. I love a plain CB750, but man, I also really like the Another of my favorite bikes of all time is the Harley 750 Racer, which I think was built to compete against this, wasn't it? There's like the weird
like the
fared,
XR, yeah,
yes,
the XR 750
right,
TT,
which has like this kind of same look. I love those two. But
we've been listing a lot of XRs lately.
This is as good as it gets, dude. This bike is incredible.
That's why it was my number one.
Okay, all right. So I stole your number one. So what's your number two?
All right, so my number two, it's a tough one because we listed a couple of them this year. And I think just because I like the old stuff, I'm going to have to go with this 1913 Henderson 4.
Okay, great. All right. So this is kind of my number one, too.
Did you go with the 18?
Yeah. Let me just spill the beans. So basically, my number one is a cheater. And again, it's the 4 cylinders. So it's the Aces, the Hendersons, and the Indians. We had a bunch of these amazing, big pre-war, all the way back to World War I era, straight 4 bikes last year.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talk about these all the time. And there is some lineage between them, right? So my cheater number one answer was like the Hendersons, Aces, and Indians.
Okay.
And we're all both talking about them. So it seems like both you and I agree. These were the great things of the year. They were our biggest results. They're great looking. And there is some Aces become Indians or become Hendersons, or how does it all work?
They all kind of became Indians. So Excelsior Henderson came first and then started the Ace Motor Company. And then in 1927, Indian bought Ace, and then that's when they launched their own 4-cylinder, the Indian 4. And we sold an early one too last year at 28, which is actually probably my favorite listing of all time just because of the wonderful family that was selling it. But there's a direct lineage, and they're not, in the grand scheme of things, the most valuable bike. I mean, we're talking, 6 figures for sure, sometimes with a 2 in front of it. But I mean, bikes get into
but 4 big, beautiful, air-cooled cylinders in a row.
That's kind of special.
I mean,
they're special.
Randy jokes that I can never go an episode without talking about airplanes. It's aviation-like, right? Like it looks like those early aviation air-cooled 4 cylinders that are in everything. And in fact, Curtis was a motorcycle racer before he started building
great engines too.
Totally. He was a motorcycle builder, and I think held the motorcycle speed record for a while before he started building airplanes. So
that's right.
Whether we're talking about these Bimotas or these like modern Ducatis or these early bikes, to tie it back to your earlier point, everything's out there and on display, and it's kind of performance oriented. And, that's similar to early aviation or even modern aviation, right? It's form follows function, and there's just a beauty in that.
Yeah. The idea of what they've done with adding more cylinders. I mean, that works. Honda proved that in the 80s, that you can add more cylinders and get more performance.
Yep.
So, I mean, these American motorcycle companies were doing this back. I mean, Hendersons were like in pre-10. I mean, I want to say like 07, you could get a 4-cylinder. So, I mean, that's the tech. It's like, get away from the V-twin because we can add more cylinders. It's a narrower bike, lower center of gravity. It's like, what's the problem? And motorcycles didn't have 4 inline cylinders until our friend with the CV750.
That's right, but then they went the other way.
They went the other way, of course. Yeah, they went the other way. They realized the
longitudinal
back cylinder needed a little bit more cooling.
Right. Even the Squarial couldn't do that. They had to tear them up. So all 4 in a row is great.
Yeah.
2025 was amazing, wasn't it?
Fun
it was
year.
a great
year.
year.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
And I am hoping 2026 ends up being another amazing year for bikes. I mean, it's amazing that part of our business has grown into kind of a business of its own.
I love it. It's been so much fun working with all these fantastic bikes, and it's a totally different group of sellers too.
Totally.
So that's just like what's so fun about it as well. And I've gotten to know so many of them. We gotta get
you to do another pod interview. You did the great one.
Oh, with David Lee, one of our more prolific motorcycle sellers.
So we gotta get you to do another one because we've got a big chunk of the community that are bike people.
Yeah, definitely.
This was a fun exercise, man. I always appreciate doing this with you. It's such a blast.
Yeah, I had an awesome time too, Alex.
Thanks, buddy. And thanks to all of you for listening. We, as always, are happy to take feedback, questions, concerns to podcast@bringatrailer.com. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.